Now to the 2020 race and a new national poll by Fox News. President Trump tweeting his outrage over the results after the poll had Joe Biden leading him by 10 points and Bernie Sanders ahead by 6 points. Elizabeth Warren and Kamala Harris are both behind President Trump by 1 point, which falls within the margin of error. Joining me now to discuss all this is Democratic strategist Howard Franklin and Republican strategist Justin Sayfie, former spokesperson for Jeb Bush. So, Justin, I'll start with you. What do you make of President Trump dismissing the legitimacy of this poll, saying there can be no way that he could lose to Biden?
Well, dismissing polls is a layup for President Trump. After what happened in 2016, nobody expected him to win. All the polls showed that Hillary Clinton was going to be the next president of the United States, and lo and behold, he wins. So for him, it's an easy message to his base of supporters and to Americans: don't trust these polls. They were wrong before, they're wrong now. It's a very easy argument for him to make.
Howard, I want to dig a little bit more into that polling data. It put Biden well ahead of his opponents in the Democratic primary. Biden 18 points ahead of Bernie Sanders in second place nationally. And then Biden's lead remains pretty big in several key states, according to two other new polls. In South Carolina, he's leading the pack with 39%. Harris is in second at 12%. And then in Ohio, he has 31%. Harris and Sanders tied for second there at 14%. So with all of this new data that we have, we've got the second Democratic debate coming up. Who's got the most to gain and who's has the most to lose here?
Well, obviously, Biden remains in the catbird seat. I think he still has the most to lose in this case. And then also, I think this polling shows that the bounce from the last debate may have dissipated for the frontrunners who were able to distinguish themselves in Kamala Harris and Elizabeth Warren. But obviously, we're also resetting the deck. We've got another set of debates, and many of the frontrunners or potential frontrunners are all scheduled to be on the same stage at the same time.
Yeah.
So we may have a chance to reset the deck yet again. I think the vice president, though, will be a little better prepared to defend that lead when this debate ensues.
Yeah, it seems like that was something that he wasn't quite where he needed to be in the last debate. So, Justin, there's another insight here from that Ohio poll. Biden, again, leading President Trump by 8 points there. The other top Democrats just about tied. So without Ohio, obviously, the Republicans don't win. So how do you read into that data?
Well, I think that the Biden's strength in the polls in some of these Midwestern states is the reason why many establishment Democrats want him to be the nominee. The people that put Donald Trump in the White House were the people that voted for Barack Obama and Joe Biden twice and then switched and voted for Donald Trump in states like Wisconsin, Ohio, Michigan, and Pennsylvania. And that's where Joe Biden has his greatest appeal. The challenge, I think, for Biden is the polls you showed earlier that shows he only has 33% of support of Democrats right now nationwide. That means 2 out of every 3 Democrats don't want him to be the nominee. And most of those other Democrats are much to the left of where Joe Biden is. So I'm concerned for Joe Biden's that he doesn't have more support, which you'd think he'd have that given the fact he was Barack Obama's vice president for 8 years.
Howard, Biden's also, as we talked about just now, he's trying to have a stronger showing in the second debate. Here's what he's saying about where his head's at right now.
I was probably overly polite in the way I didn't respond.
Are you going to be less polite then?
I'm going to be I'm going to smile a lot.
What do you mean when you said you're not going to be as polite in the next debate?
We'll see.
All right, what do you think the game plan is here?
Well, I don't know how much I think the gloves are coming off, but I think Vice President Biden has shown himself to be a pretty capable debater. And I think in moments like these, he is very effective at diffusing whatever tension might be in the room with humor. I expect to see a lot of that from him. And I really expect him to be the happy warrior come the debate in Detroit.
Justin, setting Biden aside for a second, Vanity Fair is reporting on a new fear among Republicans about the threat posed by Senator Kamala Harris. The headline is she's dangerous, and GOP insiders fear Kamala could be the next Obama. So Republicans they're talking about her potential to appeal to women, African-American voters, and to independents, maybe some folks who want a presidential candidate that projects toughness. What are you hearing?
Well, I'm hearing that she is someone that the Republicans are definitely keeping an eye on. I think she's someone who has some potential, but she's had some mixed performances so far. She had a strong first debate performance, but some of the questions she's asked, she's had to walk back on certain issues like health care and others. So she's walking a very fine line. I think she wants to appeal to moderate Democrats, but she's got a lot of very active liberal Democrats, progressive Democrats that are going to control, I think, who wins the Democratic nomination. So what I'm going to be watching is how does she walk that line between trying to increase her chances of being a strong candidate in a general election without alienating the progressive base of the Democratic Party.
Howard, do you think that Kamala Harris would be a better candidate than Biden?
I don't know that I would say she would be a better candidate, but I do think, to Justin's point, that she has the potential to potentially unify different elements of the Democratic Party. I think that's what the Vanity Fair article was speaking to, although I'm not terribly excited about her being described as dangerous as a candidate yet. But I do think she's got the potential with her law and order background and some of her progressive bona fides as a U.S. Senator out of California to unify the Democratic Party, and that's what folks are looking for right now.
Howard, I also want to ask you about the heightened language around impeachment from House Democrats here. Listen to what the Judiciary Committee member Jamie Raskin had to say yesterday.
I would say we are in an impeachment investigation. And as to the results of the investigation, it could lead to articles of impeachment or it could lead to something else. But from my personal standpoint, I think we are in an impeachment investigation.
All right, so how does this impact the 2020 race?
I don't think anyone knows just yet. I think the House Democrats got to figure out which beat they're going to march to, and it's not entirely clear. Obviously, there is a significant portion of the House Democratic majority who want to have the discussion about impeachment for this president, and obviously Nancy Pelosi and others feel like it will undermine the case that would be prosecuted against President Trump by the Democratic frontrunners as we arrive at a nominee. So I think until the House gets its house in order on this particular issue, it's just going to be out there hanging. And I think the difficulty also is that the president can talk about this as a punching bag he gets to beat up on with no one really there to defend it.
Well, Howard Franklin, Justin Sayfie, thanks for coming on this morning.
Thanks, Joe.